With the release of Forza Horizon 6 just around the corner, we've had the opportunity to thoroughly test the review build on PC and Xbox for over a week. In this review, you'll learn how Forza Horizon 6 plays and feels, including a steering wheel and 8-shifter impression. Also how it performs technically and what kind of content you can expect at launch. I will try to avoid major spoilers, such as those relating to showcase races. However, I will warn you if there is an exception. Is it the racing game of 2026? Let's find out. And with that, welcome back to Overtake. I'm Michel and we're going to start with the basics. The release date for Forza Horizon 6 varies depending on which edition you buy. The standard and deluxe editions are released on 19 May, while the premium edition offers 4 days of early access. As the graphic shows, Playground Games and Xbox are offering several extras to encourage sales of the nearly $120 premium version. It's been the practice with previous Forza titles, and I would advise against letting this FOMO influence your purchase decision. Unless you're die-hard completionists or need special cars from the car packs to dominate leaderboards without a lot of tuning and setup work, save your money and play Forza Horizon 6 at your own relaxed pace with the standard edition. It offers more than enough cars and content, and you might actually appreciate in-game purchases of cars and player houses even more without always getting a VIP bonus. It would be more important at this point to subscribe to Overtake on YouTube to be among the true VIPs. If you like racing games, cars, and everything in between, that's a good decision anyway. Thank you so much for your support. Forza Horizon 6 will initially be released on PC. You can choose between Xbox Store and Steam, and the Xbox Series X and S. It will also be compatible with handheld devices such as the Steam Deck and the ROG Xbox Li and LIX. The PlayStation 5 version has been announced, but a release date has not been revealed, but you can wishlist it in the store already. The resolutions in FPS for the platforms should be pretty interesting. I'll show you those here in the graphic. The 30 FPS in the preview version was my biggest gripe, and I recommend using the performance modes with 60 FPS on Xbox. It plays so much more smoothly that, as a developer, I wouldn't even offer the 30 FPS option in the first place. The central element of Forza Horizon 6 remains the namesake car and music festival, which transforms an entire region into a wild fantasy for car enthusiasts. Something that would never be possible in real life. Oh my god, the poor inhabitants. In various racing events, we earn experience points to qualify for rush or showcase events, which in turn unlock new levels of wristbands. They are back up to the golden one, which then even unlocks an extra island. There are nearly 100 racing events throughout the festival progression, featuring the usual variety of circuit races, sprint races, and off-road events with rally or cross-country elements. Stunt events, bonus boards, and other activities on the map also contribute to the experience points for the wristbands. All kinds of road surfaces are included, right down to snow and ice in the northern part of the map. The gameplay and the racing AI, with their strengths and weaknesses, are very reminiscent of Forza Horizon 5. But I personally like the progression structure in 6 much better. I'm glad we're just participants in the festival this time and not the organizers. The second major gameplay component is called Discover Japan, which involves collecting 7 stamps. This essentially bundles together everything related to exploring the map and the stories. Photography tasks, car customization, street races, and toga races all contribute to the second experience bar, and so does destroying the 200 mascots scattered around the various regions. I especially liked the little story missions, these yellow missions like the day trips with Mei, where we'll learn a bit about Japanese culture or the environment or the architecture. It's pretty superficial, but still.
The second tallest man-made structure in Japan, originally purposed as a broadcast tower. Every 5 years, the tower gets a fresh coat of paint, taking a whole year to complete the job. Using, get this, 28,000 liters of paint.
It reminded me a bit of the Crew Motor Fest, where the characters also tell us some stories about Oahu. It also has a certain test drive vibe sometimes, since you drive parts of these missions very relaxed in slower cars. In another mission series, we help Yuji and Keiko source a few cars for tuning and getting them ready for a festival parade. We then drive them to his workshop in their stock condition and test the tuning modifications, which sometimes drastically transform the cars.
And we are going to make it more rally.
This is a great way to learn the different directions in which you can modify the cars in the game. I was particularly excited about a collaboration with Larry Chan, a car photographer whose work I've been following since he was with Ken Block and Hoonigan a few years ago. He also has a small mission series in this context within Discover Japan.
But something is not quite right. Oh hey, I'm Larry Chen. Thanks for showing up. I gotta shoot this Porsche and get it back to the owner. But this location, the light, it's not doing me any favors.
In Tokyo, there's also a series of food delivery missions, but they're presented in a rather dry way and feel more like a checklist. Even though the delivery car is an insane K-truck with a bike engine in some cases, fair enough. However, the characters' overall design and tone in Forza Horizon 6 are very well done, and as someone who isn't 16 anymore, sadly, I felt engaged by it. Playground Games has drastically toned down the cringe factor compared to Horizon 5. Seriously, the characters in the game have believable jobs and speak like adults. I really enjoyed that.
But so much room in the trunk for snacks.
Let's talk about the car selection, driving feel and customization. Since the Forza Horizon series has been going strong for over 14 years and continues to include many cars from previous installments, we're starting with about 550 cars at launch. The list is great, to be honest, and there are very few cars I'm missing. They also added a plethora of JDM icons and even a ton of cars that are not so well known in the Western Hemisphere, like the Nissan Gloria or some K cars which form their own class. Many of the cars can be easily purchased in the car show, but quite a few are also unlockables, for example, through the Discover Japan progression. Barn finds are back, of course, and there are some really cool ones there, each with their own little backstory embedded to one of the characters' past, sometimes even. New this time are 9 collectible treasure cars, one for each region. Here you get a clue via screenshot and have to find the car yourself in the open world, but it's definitely worth keeping your eyes peeled. Without giving too much away, there are cars like the Ford GT, which had been one of my favorites so far. That's partly due to the sound of the V8 engine. Even though not everyone will be 100% satisfied with every single engine sound, I find it very pleasing overall and think that Forza Horizon 6 is generally outstanding in terms of sound. This applies to the music selection, soundtrack, voice acting, sound effects, and everything else that goes with it. The car's tuning offers some improvements over Forza Horizon 5, but essentially follows the same principle. The tire compounds are slightly different with the addition of semi-slicks. You can now also apply decals and stickers to the windows, and the Forza Aero looks a bit nicer, though I still hardly ever use it. The selection of front bumpers, conversions, body kits and so on always depends on the car. Some have more options, others fewer or none. There are still no options to make in-depth changes such as interior details, exhaust tips and stuff like that. Need for Speed and JDM Driftmaster were a step ahead in that regard, though to be fair, they also have a significantly smaller car roster. I haven't seen any underbody neon yet either. If that's missing, it's probably the biggest oversight for this scenario. Since Forza Horizon started out as a spin-off of Forza Motorsport and Turn 10 also helped develop it, The various vehicle types, powertrains, tires and suspension setups feel quite believable. Of course, not every aspect of the handling is realistic, especially when it comes to jumps. We shouldn't dwell on that. But the mix and feel is fun and works well handling-wise. This applies to both controller and wheel gameplay, which is why we'd already based our Xbox preview on the Moza wheel gameplay back then. On my PC sim racing setup, a wild mix of Simocube 3, active pedals, a magic shifter, new X-hub and handbrake. Everything has worked so far, except for one key factor. The force feedback was missing. Unfortunately, we didn't receive a list of officially supported devices for the PC in advance, while on Xbox, basically anything compatible with the console should work. At least I was easily able to map all the buttons of all of my devices, and I hope the FFB issue can still be resolved via an update either on Simocube's or Forza's side. Otherwise, Emu Wheel might be an option again, something people already had to use for FH5 with some devices. An important question beforehand concerned the clutch and H-shifter gameplay. Yes, it basically works, but Forza Horizon 6 doesn't enforce the clutch, meaning you can shift gears without using the clutch. Unfortunately, Forza Horizon 6 is too much of an arcade racer for that and is designed more for gamepads. Imagine an authentic mode that would replicate the transmission type of the car you're driving. That's unfortunately not in the game. There are also no secondary button assignments if you use a sequential shifter next to your shifter pedals on the wheel and stuff like that. So it's a bit sad that the devs don't go the extra mile in that regard, because when it's working, it can be a lot of fun with a steering wheel. For me, the Rallycross Fiesta here felt very precise even without force feedback. Yannick also reported that it felt surprisingly good with his Fanatec DD2. And he had force feedback, by the way. Switching between the wheel and the Xbox controller is also completely seamless when using both at the same time. What about the technical side of things? Let's start with the PC. Considering the stunning graphics, the vast open world, AI traffic, and the size of the map, the game runs very smoothly on my RTX 4080 Super system. At 1440p I was able to max out the graphics settings almost completely and still maintained a stable 100 FPS, though with screen space reflections enabled. Performance with ray tracing took a significant hit, costing me about 50% of my FPS right away. You could counteract this with DLSS, locked FPS and detail tweaking, but everyone will have to find the right balance for their own system kinda. Right at the start in the menu there is a benchmark mode where you can try out different settings. The game seems more GPU heavy and not bottlenecked by CPU, which is good news. Otherwise, Forza Horizon 6 ran very smoothly and stably on both my PC and the Xbox Series X. I fell through the terrain once, but other than that, there were no crashes, glitches or similar issues. It gives the impression of a highly optimized and polished game. There are also subtle FOV adjustments for the various cameras, but they don't go very far. By the way, there is no VR support. Triple screen operation is possible, for example with Nvidia Surround, but it lacks angle correction resulting in stretched side monitors. So for VR and triple screen setups, there is no improvement over Horizon 5 sadly. The core weather and physics systems are also pretty neat. The trees don't stop you anymore, none of the trees, so you can just drive through a forest without even caring about trees. And to show you a thing or two, here comes a spoiler warning for a few scenes from a showcase event. So stick around here or skip to the next chapter, the map. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1... Yes, it was teased in a trailer. We're going up against the Mack Chaser Zero here. I found the staging of this race very impressive, even though these showcase events are of course always highly scripted. But I noticed in the replay that the water the Mack kicks up actually lands on the car and triggers the windshield wipers. Cool detail. Also how the Mack mows down all the trees. It's just fun, and those are the moments that stick in your memory, right? And Forza Horizon 6 has plenty of them. When I drove up north into the mountains for the first time and looked back at the city, there was a goosebumps moment too. especially with the lighting that constantly paints a different picture of the surroundings. There has already been a lot of talk about the map during the preview, so I'll keep this brief. Even though I appreciate the work that went into it, the city, Tokyo, isn't really the star of the map for me. It just feels too empty and too much like a Disneyland version of Tokyo. Personally, the vibe doesn't come across as well as it does in, say, Tokyo Extreme Racer. The scenery itself and the locations around the city, like the highway network, the Daikoku or Tatsumi parking areas, the Rainbow Bridge, Ginkgo Avenue and the Tokyo Tower, are still all very nice to have and simply belong in this setting. But as you probably already gathered from the scene in the mountains, the area outside the city are my highlights. There is a lot of variety. Every region has its own special theme or landmarks. Waterfalls, temples, fields, ski resorts, mountain roads, it's all there. I actually enjoyed driving everywhere and had a ton of fun exploring the map, which takes multiple hours on its own. And yes, they have the full Mount Haruna Toge, aka Mount Akina from Initial D. Various extra features round out the world of this game. There are the seasons, which change weekly. At launch will start with spring, followed by summer on May 21, and so on. There is also dynamic weather with day and night cycle, photo mode, drone mode, and an auto drive feature to enjoy all of that, and the scenery. On top of that, there are the many social and multiplayer aspects. On Xbox, you need an additional multiplayer subscription for this, but on PC you can play online without one. You're then automatically placed on a server with a few other random players on the map. You can race together in co-op events, there are car meet spots, convoys, stunt parties, leaderboards for almost everything in the game, and the extensive Horizon play section with championships, drift battles, eliminator events, and so on. My favorites are the time attack courses in the open world, where leaderboard displays for the class of the car you're driving appear right on the track. There is even a rallycross style off-road time attack track, so it has a lot of new or improved features, and I haven't even mentioned the building part yet. Not only can you customize your garage's interior, but with the E-State you have a massive area where you can build just about anything. Yes, even dinosaurs. At first, this was a bit overwhelming for me, and I think I almost completely ignore this feature for now. But I can't wait to see what the community comes up with. Time for a verdict. Playground Games draws on its many years of experience to create a massive, comprehensive racing game that's accessible and can draw new players into this beautiful, vibrant world of car culture, while also challenging the more dedicated members of the community who've played every installment and spent hours perfecting their cars and driving lines. Forza Horizon 6 is a blast to play. For me, it's mainly a relaxing experience, a real treat, and everyone can play it exactly the way what works for them while still making progress in the game. The fact that it all looks so sleek and runs so smoothly is just the icing on the cake. There are certainly many areas that could still be improved. Cutscenes in the story missions, visual tuning options, more functionality for wheel play, VR mode, and so on. Nevertheless, Playground Games and Xbox have delivered a masterpiece here and created a racing game that will bring a lot of joy to many players in the coming years. For me, a solid 4.5 out of 5. Now it's your turn. Feel free to share your thoughts and experiences with Forza Horizon 6 in the comments and let us know if you'll be jumping into the game in the next few days. We'll be posting a few tips for getting started on our website overtake.gg and here on YouTube. We'll look forward to seeing you there and have fun racing. Bye!